"This is a personal, Maria," my father said, not looking up from the stack of papers on his desk. "It's tradition. The business goes to the eldest son." I stood in his office at the back of Bella Rosa, our family's Italian restaurant that had been serving Chicago's North Side for 3 generations. The walls were covered with old family photos. My grandparents on opening day in 1952, my father taking over in 1985, and countless moments in between. Not a single photo showed a woman running the place. "I've worked here since I was 12, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the anger bubbling beneath the surface. "I created half the menu items. I modernized our ordering system. Marco hasn't even worked a full shift in 2 years." My father finally looked up, his expression a mixture of condescension and what he probably thought was fatherly concern. "Maria, you're 28. You should be thinking about marriage, children, not worrying about running a restaurant." My name is Maria Rossi, and I'd spent my entire life preparing to take over Bella Rosa. While my brother Marco was out partying through college, I was studying business management and culinary arts. While he was sleeping off hangovers, I was in the kitchen at 5 a.m., learning our grandmother's recipes and developing new ones. But none of that mattered because I had the wrong chromosomes. "Marco doesn't even want the restaurant. I tried one last time." He said it himself. "He'll learn to want it," my father replied firmly. "Just like I did when your grandfather handed it to me. This is how things are done in our family." I looked at the latest photo on his wall. Marco's college graduation. He was grinning, probably already thinking about the bar crawl he had planned for that night. Next to it should have been my culinary school graduation photo. But that space remained conspicuously empty. "Fine," I said quietly, "I understand." My father's face softened slightly. "There will always be a place for you here, tesoro. In the kitchen where you can." "No," I cut him off. "I mean, I understand exactly what I need to do." I turned and walked out of his office, my mind already racing with plans. 6 months ago, when I first suspected this was coming, I'd started looking at properties in the neighborhood. Last week, I finally found it, the perfect location, just 2 doors down from Bella Rosa. The elderly couple who owned the space had been running a failing deli for years. When I offered them fair market value in cash, they practically threw the keys at me. My phone buzzed as I left the restaurant, a text from my best friend and sous chef, Sophie. "How'd it go?" "Exactly as expected," I replied. "Time for plan B, you still in?" Her response was immediate. "Already gave my 2 weeks notice. When do we start?" I smiled, looking down the street at my new property. The windows were covered in brown paper, hiding the renovations already underway. My father and brother walked past it every day, never suspecting what was coming. "Meet me there in an hour," I texted back. "Bring the plans." I'd spent years learning every aspect of running Bella Rosa, but I'd also spent that time knowing everything that could be improved. The menu, while classic, needed updating. The wine list was outdated. The kitchen layout was inefficient. And don't even get me started on their resistance to social media and online ordering. All things my father refused to change because that's how we've always done it. Well, I was about to show him a new way of doing things. Sophie was waiting when I arrived, blueprints spread across a makeshift table. The space was still rough, exposed beams, stripped floors, walls waiting for paint. But I could see its potential. "Your father's going to lose his mind," she said, grinning as she showed me the latest design updates. "Probably," I agreed. "But first he's going to lose his customers." The plan was simple but ambitious. Take everything that made Bella Rosa special, the warmth, the tradition, the family recipes, but modernize it. Create something that honored our heritage while embracing the future. I'd already secured loans using the money I'd saved over the years. My grandmother's recipes, the real ones, not the modified versions my father used, were safely stored in my apartment. And thanks to my time managing Bella Rosa's kitchen, I had relationships with all the best suppliers in the city. "The contractor says we can be ready in 3 months, Sophie reported. "The kitchen equipment arrives next week." I nodded, walking through the space. In my mind, I could already see it. The exposed brick walls, the open kitchen concept, the bar area where we'd serve the craft cocktails my father always dismissed as trendy nonsense. My phone buzzed again. Another text from my father. "Family dinner Sunday. Bring that nice doctor you met at the Conti wedding. Time you started thinking about your future." If he only knew. I spent the next few weeks dividing my time between Bella Rosa's kitchen and my new space. During the day, I played the dutiful daughter, pretending nothing had changed. At night, I worked with contractors, designed menus, and built my dream. Marco, meanwhile, was learning the business, which mostly meant sitting in the office playing on his phone while my father handled everything. He didn't notice when I slowly started taking home my personal recipes. He didn't question why Sophie and 2 other key staff members suddenly quit. He didn't even realize when I started subtly directing our most loyal customers to follow Bella Rosa's new social media accounts that would, coincidentally, announce my new restaurant's opening. "You're absolutely ruthless," Sophie said one night as we finalized the menu. "I love it." I looked up from the wine list I was curating. "I learned from the best. My father always said business is business." "What are you going to call it?" I smiled, showing her the logo I'd been working on. The name was both a homage and a challenge. Rosa's. Just Rosa's. Modern, simple, elegant. Everything Bella Rosa wasn't anymore. "He's going to see it as a declaration of war," Sophie warned. "Good," I replied, because that's exactly what it is. The next Sunday, at our weekly family dinner, I watched my father and brother discuss their plans for Bella Rosa's future. They talked about keeping things exactly as they were, about maintaining tradition. Neither of them noticed my quiet smile or the fact that the construction noise 2 doors down had stopped, indicating the renovations were complete. In 2 weeks, they'd learn exactly what tradition meant to me, and Chicago's restaurant scene would never be the same. The morning of Rosa's grand opening, I stood in my brand new kitchen at 4 a.m., breathing in the scent of fresh bread and brewing espresso. Everything gleamed, the state-of-the-art equipment, the polished counters, the copper pots hanging overhead. "Ready?" Sophie asked, tying her apron. Our staff was already prepping, each person carefully chosen from the best restaurants in Chicago. Many had turned down higher-paying jobs just to be part of what we were building. "More than ready," I replied, checking my phone. The social media campaign we'd been quietly running for weeks had done its job. The secret preview photos, the carefully crafted teasers, the mysterious invitations sent to food critics and influencers. It had created exactly the buzz we wanted. At 7 a.m., right on schedule, my father and brother walked past on their way to open Bella Rosa. I watched through our floor-to-ceiling windows as they noticed the changed storefront for the first time. My father stopped dead in his tracks, staring at the elegant sign, "Rosa's, Modern Italian Cuisine." Through the windows, he could see our fully staffed kitchen, the sophisticated decor, and the line of people already forming despite the early hour. Marco's jaw actually dropped when he recognized Sophie expertly directing the kitchen staff. My father's face turned several interesting shades of red as he stormed toward our door. I met him outside, coffee in hand. "What is this?" he demanded, gesturing wildly at my restaurant. "What do you think you're doing?" "Running a business," I replied calmly. "Isn't that what you taught us to do? You're trying to compete with your own family? With Bella Rosa?" I took a sip of my coffee. "Compete? No, Papa. I'm going to show you what you could have had if you'd looked past your outdated traditions." He opened his mouth to argue further, but was interrupted by the arrival of Deanna Chen, the city's most influential food critic. She'd never reviewed Bella Rosa. My father had always dismissed food critics as unnecessary, but she'd been personally invited to Rosa's opening. "Maria," she called out warmly, "everything looks amazing. Just like you promised." My father's expression shifted from anger to confusion as Diana breezed past him into the restaurant. She wasn't the only VIP guest we'd lined up. Throughout the day, food bloggers, local celebrities, and social media influencers would be arriving, all carefully scheduled to create maximum impact. "You should get back to Bella Rosa," I suggested to my father. "Your breakfast rush will be starting soon." "Well, what's left of it?" He followed my gaze to the growing line outside Rosa's, a line that would normally have been waiting for Bella Rosa's morning pastries. Marco, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. "Dad, maybe we should." "No," my father cut him off. "Let her play her game. Our customers know quality. They know tradition." But as they walked back to their restaurant, I could see the worry in their faces. They should be worried. Rosa's opening day was a carefully orchestrated symphony. Every detail had been planned. From the complimentary Prosecco served to waiting customers to the live Instagram stories being posted from our dining room. The menu was a perfect blend of traditional and modern. My grandmother's recipes elevated with contemporary techniques and presentations. Classic pasta dishes served alongside innovative small plates. A wine list that would make any sommelier proud. By lunch, the line stretched around the block. Every table was full, the bar was packed, and the energy was electric. Our point-of-sale system, something my father had always resisted, made service smooth and efficient. Through our windows, I could see Bella Rosa's dining room. It was maybe half full, mostly with their elderly regular customers. Their sidewalk chalkboards still advertised the same daily specials they've been serving for decades. My phone buzzed constantly with notifications as photos of our food flooded social media. #Rosa Chicago was trending locally. Diana Chen's review, posted live from her table, was already being shared hundreds of times. "Your father's been standing in his doorway for the past hour," Sophie reported during our brief afternoon lull. "Just watching." I nodded, checking our sales figures for the day. We'd already exceeded our projected opening numbers, and dinner service hadn't even started. Then came the text I'd been waiting for. From Marco, "Can we talk?" "I'm a little busy," I replied. "Running a business." "Please, 5 minutes, without Dad." I considered it. Marco had always been lazy, entitled, but he wasn't stupid. He must have realized by now what was coming. Back door, 15 minutes. When I met him in the alley behind our restaurants, he looked different. Worried. Maybe even a little impressed. "How long have you been planning this?" he asked without preamble. "Since the day you told me you never wanted to run Bella Rosa," I replied. "Remember that conversation? 3 years ago, when you were drunk at Christmas?" He had the grace to look embarrassed. "I meant it. I still do. I never wanted this life." "But you let him give you the restaurant anyway." "Let him pass me over because tradition was more important than capability." What was I supposed to do? "Stand up to him," I said sharply. "Tell him the truth. Support your sister who actually wanted the restaurant. Any of those would have worked." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit from childhood. "It's not too late. We could tell him together. Make him understand." "It is too late." I cut him off. "Way too late. I don't want Bella Rosa anymore, Marco. I've built something better. Something mine. He'll never forgive you for this." I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to earn our father's approval, trying to prove myself worthy of the family legacy. "That's his problem," I said finally. "I'm done seeking forgiveness for being ambitious, for being capable, for being a woman who wants more than marriage and babies." Marco looked back at Bella Rosa, at the empty tables visible through the windows, at the outdated decor and faded sign. "We're going to lose everything, aren't we?" I followed his gaze, remembering all the nights I'd spent in that kitchen, dreaming of the day it would be mine. "No, Marco, you're going to lose what you never wanted anyway. I'm going to succeed. There's a difference." I turned and walked back into my restaurant, leaving him standing in the alley between our two worlds, the past he was trapped in, and the future I was creating. The dinner service was about to start, and I had a feeling it was going to be unforgettable. The reviews started rolling in by the end of our first week. Diana Chen's write-up in the Tribune was just the beginning. Food blogs, social media influencers, and local news outlets all wanted to cover the new hotspot that was revolutionizing Chicago's Italian dining scene. But the most telling review came from Giuseppe Romano, an 82-year-old regular at Bella Rosa who'd been dining there since my grandfather's time. He shuffled into Rosa's one quiet Tuesday afternoon, ordered our ossobuco, and cried. "Just like your nana used to make," he said, wiping his eyes. "Before your father changed everything." That was the secret nobody knew. Over the years, my father had slowly modified my grandmother's recipes, cutting corners, using cheaper ingredients, always in the name of efficiency. He thought nobody noticed, but the old-timers did. They just never said anything. Until now. Giuseppe's endorsement spread through the neighborhood's Italian community like wildfire. Suddenly, Bella Rosa's most loyal customers were making reservations at Rosa's instead. My father's response was predictable. First came anger. He banned any mention of my name in Bella Rosa. Then denial. He told everyone business was better than ever. Finally, desperation. "He's slashing prices," Sophie reported one morning, showing me Bella Rosa's new menu. "Everything's almost half off." I studied the prices, feeling a mixture of sadness and vindication. How long can they sustain that? Maybe 2 months with their overhead, less if their suppliers won't extend more credit. I nodded, turning back to my own work. We were already planning our expansion, a private dining room for events, maybe even a rooftop space for summer. Our profits from the first month alone would cover the initial renovations. Then came the text from my mother, "Your father's sick." The stress. "Please, Maria, end this fight." I stared at my phone for a long time before replying. "It was never a fight, Mama. It was a lesson." 2 days later, Marco showed up at my office, looking exhausted. "We're drowning," he admitted without preamble. "Dad won't admit it, but we can't keep going like this." "What do you want me to do about it?" I asked, though I already knew what was coming. "Buy us out," he said quietly, "before there's nothing left to sell." I leaned back in my chair, thinking about the property assessment I had done last week, anticipating this very conversation. "Half market value," I offered, "and you both signed non-compete agreements. I won't have you opening another restaurant just to spite me." "Dad will never agree to that." "Then I'll wait 3 more months and buy it for a quarter of market value at the bankruptcy auction." He flinched but didn't argue. We both knew I was right. It took another week of negotiations, most of them through Marco, because my father still refused to speak to me directly. But finally, on a Sunday morning, the time we used to have family breakfast, we met to sign the papers. My father looked older than I remembered, though it had only been 2 months. He didn't speak as his lawyer reviewed the documents, didn't look at me as he signed away the restaurant he'd inherited from his own father. Only when everything was done did he finally meet my eyes. "You broke his heart," my mother said softly from beside him. "Your grandfather's legacy." I honored his legacy, I corrected her. By making something successful, by refusing to let tradition be an excuse for mediocrity, by destroying your family, my father finally spoke, his voice rough. "No, Papa. You did that when you decided your daughter's ambition was less important than your son's birthright." I stood gathering the signed documents. "You'll both receive the first payment tomorrow. The keys, please." Marco handed them over without a word. As they stood to leave, my father turned back one last time. "Was it worth it?" he asked. "All this, just to prove a point." I looked around at my empire, now 2 restaurants strong, with more locations already in planning. "It wasn't about proving a point, Papa. It was about proving my worth, something you never gave me the chance to do." That evening, after they cleared out their personal belongings, I walked through Bella Rosa's empty dining room. So many memories in these walls, learning to make pasta at my grandmother's knee, serving my first table, creating my first original dish. "What are you going to do with it?" Sophie asked, following me through the space. I smiled, already envisioning the changes. "We're going to honor its history, but do it right this time. No more cutting corners, no more clinging to outdated ideas just because they're traditional." 3 months later, the renovated space reopened as Nana Rosa's, a tribute to my grandmother and her original vision. The menu featured all her authentic recipes, plus modern interpretations that would have made her proud. My father never set foot in either restaurant again. Marco moved to Florida to open a beach bar, something he'd always wanted to do. My mother still calls every Sunday, though our conversations are careful, measured. But the customers, they come in droves. They take pictures of their food, share stories about dining at the original Bella Rosa, and create new memories in both restaurants. Sometimes late at night, I sit in Nana Rosa's with a glass of wine, looking at the old family photos I kept on the walls. I added some new ones too, including my culinary school graduation picture, finally getting its place of honor. Next to it hangs a framed copy of Diana Chen's first review, which ended with words that still make me smile. In a city full of Italian restaurants claiming to be family establishments, Rosa's stands out not just for its food, but for its courage. It takes strength to challenge tradition, to demand more than what's handed to you. In doing so, Maria Rosa hasn't just created a great restaurant, she's redefined what family business truly means. I'll drink to that. Author's note: a year later, Rosa's expanded to 3 more locations across Chicago. The original Nana Rosa's became a destination for food tourists from around the world. My father still hasn't spoken to me, but last week, I saw my mother sneaking in for lunch. She ordered the osso buco, my grandmother's original recipe. When she left, there were tears in her eyes. Sometimes breaking tradition is the only way to preserve what truly matters.